The Pirates lost 4-0 to the Padres to complete the series sweep at home at PNC Park, and it's beyond time to move on from Derek Shelton. That's next on Locked On Pirates.
You are Locked On Pirates, your daily Pittsburgh Pirates podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Hi, welcome to Locked On Pirates. I'm Gary Morgan, and yeah, we're going to talk about Derek Shelton, who has to be hearing the Monty Python "Bring Out Your Dead" scene every day he shows up for work. Some contracts this team has signed I want to get into a little bit, and how they might prevent the team from even attempting another rebuild should they fire the GM. I hope that's good news for some of you, because I don't want to go through another full-scale rebuild. And I also want to talk a little bit about some players who might get a chance to bring some new energy to the team very soon. I'm not saying it'll be enough, but they certainly need to do something different, don't they? So Derek Shelton makes comments all the time that don't really advance anything. You know, they're non-answers most of the time. This year, I feel like we've gotten a lot less of the analytical gobbledygook and a lot more overt shrugging. Basically doesn't know what to say anymore. Here's a sampling of some comments we've gotten, like, "We have to figure something out there. I really don't have a good answer for you." Hell, he used that one 3 times just the other night. We're getting really unlucky. That dates all the way back to last year, and he's used it again a couple times this year. We faced some really good pitching. And I love that one, especially after you face somebody like today's starting pitcher for San Diego, who just last week was giving up 7 runs to Albuquerque in AAA and shut the Pirates out today through 5 innings. Great stuff. We're just not consistent offensively. Well, no crap, Sherlock. We've all been watching, right? Let me give you a shining example of what I really mean here, because it's not just the quotes, right? It's how much better they could be handled if you just observe the team, let alone are in charge of managing them. You get asked something like, "Hey, coach, your team leads the league in grounding into double plays." Well, I, as a fan, want to hear something like, yeah, we stopped focusing on launch angle because honestly, we're just not built that way. And at the same time, we're hitting far too many ground balls, so we're adjusting it back. We clearly swung too far in the other direction. Instead, we're getting really unlucky a lot of the time. You get what I mean? This coach doesn't know what to say. Has no answers either to the media or his own team, really. They fall into historic slumps together as one giant unit. And by the time he tries to plug a hole in the canoe, he's discovered he let it go so long that he now has like 8 leaks. And all of a sudden, making that switch of Jared Triolo for somebody else, well, it doesn't have the kind of impact that it might have had back when he was a weak point in an otherwise okay unit. The Derek Shelton thing has drug on already. I was ready to move on from him last year. I made it very clear last year I was ready to move on from him. And I get frustrated because I don't focus on it every single day. I think some people tend to think, well, Gary's okay with this manager. He just doesn't yell about them all the time. Listen, I don't yell about them all the time because honestly, I do 6 shows a week, 7 sometimes. This week, like last week, was 7 shows I've done. I have a website that I write about them every single day. If you don't think that I'm writing Derek Shelton should be fired probably twice a week and saying it about 5 or 6, well, I mean, that's not really on me. I'm putting it out there. But it's also not going to be what I live and breathe every day. I'm covering baseball here. And while this team has not put anything fun on the field in a long time, it's baseball. I'm going to cover baseball. It has to be done that way. But there comes a time when you have to overtly call for something like this. I don't do that lightly because once you do it, you can't come back from it. It's not about Derek Shelton's overall record. They set him up for failure. And if this team came out this year and they won 90 games or something crazy like that, I don't think there would be a lot of fans that go back and add up his overall record and tell you that he's still got a losing record. He's got to go. I think they'd probably just be happy with the 90-win season and leave it at that. I don't begrudge him everything that has happened on the way here. I think he could have done better with some of what he's gotten. I think he absolutely has a problem with training guys at this level. Nobody gets better once they're here. Even Paul Skeens has not gotten better since he got to Major League Baseball. Jared Jones had that breakout spring, got to the league, he was incredible. And then we watched him regress, right? Lost velocity, lost placement of his fastball and his slider. Guys started barreling him up regularly. Guys don't get better here. Jared Triolo comes up for a cup of coffee, looks like somebody that's going to hit and can field all over the place. That's the only nugget of Jared Triolo that Derek Shelton remembers, because he hasn't gotten better after his promotion. He's gotten worse. Most of these guys, you can say they're quad A players, okay? And that may very well be true for a lot of them. But a manager has to have some successes in this department. You've got to have somebody that comes up here and looks better as their career evolves, right? He got Brian Reynolds as an already ready-made product. We're going to talk about some of these guys they signed, but anybody that they've extended was already here and already had done a lot of the hard part of improving their game at this level before Derek Shelton got here. I think it's a major indictment of the entire management team. But if you're talking about the on-field management, I heard something today that I felt summed up where I am on Derek Shelton to a T. Somebody asked him in the postgame, do you think like maybe when guys make a real boneheaded play out there that maybe there's a cause to pull them out? And instead of answering the question generally, like, that's not my philosophy, or yeah, there are instances, but it's got to be a special case. He could have played around with it. Instead, he fires back, what play are you talking about? Because he wants a gotcha. And whatever play that reporter, I think it was Dejan Kovacevic, was going to come back with, he was going to be prepared to say no and make the reporter feel foolish for having asked such an audacious question. So Dejan, just top of his head, says, like Gorski taking off from third base there. Derek Shelton's answer to that is, to me, so key to this whole thing. His answer to that is, well, that's a young player making a young player mistake. He just didn't know that was Manny Machado over there, and you can't run in that situation. Well, what is Mike Rabello doing at third base, if not warning him about said situation? Like, hey, Matt, you're gonna go home unless it gets hit to Manny Machado. It's your fault that young kids are seeing things and hearing about things for the first time on the Major League diamond after they experience it. You're the coach. They need to be hearing it from you before it comes up. If it's so rookie ball that he would miss something like that, he's been playing baseball a long freaking time. In this system, that situation's come up before. Okay? It's your job when they get to the majors to go, hey, just so you know, there's some things up here that are a little different than the minors. You're not going to be able to get away with X, Y, and Z. I don't expect them to be prescient and know everything that's going to happen. But you got to be better than that. It's time to fire Derek Shelton. And no, I don't think it fixes everything. But it's time. Did you ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, or I guess eggs, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. Hey, welcome back to Locked On Pirates. Do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. Give me a like, drop me a comment. I'm talking about some deep subjects today, so I expect some good conversations from y'all. I also want to just commend you all. The Locked On Pirates channel continues to grow, even as the team plays terribly. So thank you very much for checking out the videos every day and interacting as often as you do. It's very appreciated, and we'll move forward together and see if we can't fight through this and come out with a better team at some point. It'll be fun, and maybe we'll feel really rewarded when we get there. So this segment, I want to talk a little bit about some of the players the Pirates have signed and an effect that it could have. It's just something I've been starting to think about. The players they extended so far. I guess what I'm really trying to think about is, are they just settling into the culture that they were brought up in? It feels to me like there should be nobody more besides those three that feel responsible for where this team is, feel like they were chosen to be part of this core. Those three are supposed to be the ones that step up and keep this team from going into those deep, dark slides. These are the guys that this management team identified as people they didn't want to lose, and they had to do something different. And for this team, extending a bunch of guys that typically they would have traded off because they were too expensive. And yes, all three of those guys at the time profiled as such. I think it was a signal that they wanted to try to do things differently. I also think you could argue that they've chosen poorly here. And before I get like too deep into it, I just want to say these are all three signings that I fully endorsed, and I was happy about each and every one of them. And I'll explain more as we go, but let's start with Hayes. Brian Hayes is signed through 2029. He would have just now been hitting ARB 2, which is his second year of arbitration. You get 3. I just want to say, do you think it's a sure bet that they'd be tendering him? Do you think it's a sure bet that they would take him to arbitration? Even this year, just based on what we've seen, the injuries, the production, everything, if they had not signed him to that contract, do you think that they would be taking him to arbitration, or do you think that they would have traded him off and/or moved on? Or do you think maybe they'd even be playing somebody like Jared Triolo, who we have also said isn't good enough? Defensively, he's fine. I mean, Hayes gets on base a little bit and he can single a little bit, but underwhelming as hell. And the contract itself is not that bad. But his deal's reasonable. But he's owed, counting this year, $37 million through the end of that. Is someone going to deal for that, for what Brian Hayes is providing? I don't know. I mean, you might get a team that, like, they feel like, hey, our major shortcoming is just we really need better defense around the diamond. Let me bring in Brian Hayes. We'll eat that contract just to upgrade defensively over there. We need it so bad. You could see a team that they don't care about the money doing something like that. But I think he limits your options of who you could move him to. And I certainly think that you're grasping at straws if you think he's returning something that you perceive to be better than him. You know, I don't know that really goes anywhere. I think they're stuck with it. Reynolds signed through 2030. He's owed $87.5 million counting this year. And don't get me wrong, someone would take this player and not blink at the price, and it would be foolish to see his body of work and think he won't improve. But man, he's a big reason that they're falling on their faces early this year. And Keller extended through 2028. This year would have been his ARB 3, and that means had they not extended him, he'd have been dealt in the previous offseason, so we wouldn't even be a Pirate anymore. I can tell you that right now. Now they have him and owe him $71 million. That's tradable. But if he's performing like this, 15.4 annual average value, that's nothing for a middle of the rotation starter. But if he's anything less than that, you'd be selling an albatross. So either way, all three of these players, whether they stay here or go or whatever, they need to play better. But on the other hand, these guys, what they're owed, how they've performed, all of it, they add up to a team that, regardless of management changes, is, to a degree, in my eyes anyway, locked in on some of what Cherington saw as core players to keep. Those were big decisions. Again, big decisions that I full-throated endorsed. In fact, I fought hard for Brian Reynolds. I talked a lot about that one. To me, not extending Brian Reynolds would have been absolutely setting the entire thing back 3 years. I saw no way they were going to recoup him quickly. I feel the same way about Brian Reynolds back then as I feel about O'Neal Cruz right now. Now's the time, and if you don't do it, we're going to be talking about moving O'Neal Cruz within the next couple years. It stinks. Based on the timing, to me, I feel like they would have been selling off three perceived big pieces right when fans were expecting the opposite. And because of how they built around them and how they've played, I mean, because this is the original sin of not building around, right? We're talking about how upset we are they didn't build around Paul Skeens. Well, they locked up three guys they felt were part of their core. And those three guys, they did nothing to build around them. Nothing except for internal growth. Granted, I can sit here and tell you that adding Paul Skeens and Jared Jones to that core mix of players is a good idea. And O'Neal Cruz is here, so okay, great. But they haven't done anything to fix a lot of the holes they've got created around the diamond. I think they're locked in here. In many ways, as a fan, I'm happy about it because I don't think it's easy to come in here and just blow this thing up. I think you're going to have to try to build on it to some degree. You may have to cut your losses. You may have to admit somebody is less than what you thought they were. You may have to move somebody just to move them. But I don't think it's going to be those three. And if it's not those three, well, payroll isn't going to go down all that much anyway, hence defeating the purpose. I think you'd be looking at trades of prospects and or younger players for more experienced players. You'd be eating contracts from someone else if you wanted to take the smartest way to kind of right the ship here. Unfortunately, I have no faith they'll do that. We have to see what they end up hiring, whether that's going to work or not. There's no quick fixes here, though, not internally. We're going to talk about some that I think they're going to try anyway, because I just don't see them not even attempting it. And we've got a few guys that I just know are coming. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more. Experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. If you need help with a marketing campaign, Upwork can connect you with a freelance expert who delivered incredible results. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's UPWORK.com, Upwork.com, to connect with top talent and grow your business today. All right, welcome back to Locked On Pirates. I want to wrap up talking about some players that I think are going to be getting called up here relatively soon and or returning from the IL. One way to get energy back on this team is to move on from the coach. If you ask me, you can't fire all the players, but you can certainly move on from a coach and try to shake up a room pretty quick. I think, again, it's time for that. But you're going to have some players come up here too, and I think we're getting very close to seeing some action. Bubba Chandler is who we're going to start with. 6 games that he started, 25.1 innings, 36 strikeouts, a .67 whip, and a 1.42 ERA. He's up over 70 pitches. He's up over 5 innings. He's exactly where Paul Skeens was. The Pirates just promoted Hunter Barco to AAA, and he's going to be the next player we talk about. But I do believe Bubba Chandler is probably going to be joining this Pirates rotation within the next 2 weeks. It just makes too much sense. Even if they're just grasping at straws for a little bit of excitement, I think it's a good move. And I talked a little bit in the Saturday show about how I think Carmen Majinski could help the bullpen tremendously too. So it's probably a good move on 2 fronts. And yes, part of me thinks that makes it even more impossible to expect. Hunter Barco is not going to threaten Major League Baseball this year, I don't believe. But he's just been promoted to AAA. He has a 0.00 ERA in 6 starts, 25.2 innings pitched, 34 strikeouts, and a 0.70 whip. It was time to challenge him for sure. And Hunter Barco, he's a guy that had injuries as part of the reason that he was drafted in the second round from the Pirates. 44th overall, actually, in 2022. So it's not like they've had him for a long time and let him rot. But he's 24 years old, and a lot of you know that's starting to get to like the magic hour for baseball players. When you draft, mature college kids, you know what you're getting to a degree. You've kind of got to fast track them. And Hunter Barco has done nothing to show them they shouldn't. Since he's gotten healthy, he has shoved. In fact, his entire career, he has a 1.01 whip and a 2.54 ERA, and that spans all levels. I think he's going to sparkle. I also think they're going to have an inning restriction on him that's pretty aggressive. 66 is the most he's ever thrown in a season, and I see him probably topping out around 110 or 120 this year. I don't know if that's going to leave him room to get to the majors, but if for some reason they really thought they just needed a power lefty in the pen, I could see it. Hunter Barco really does have that kind of stuff. That's not going to be quick, not like Bubba Chandler, but I do think it could happen. They continue to have success on the mound. It's the hitting that's really been killing them, along with the defense that supports the pitching. So there's that issue. Nick York. It's been a while since we talked about Nick York because he got off to a slow start down there. But he has been starting to steady out a little bit. He's got 88 at bats under his belt now. You like to see a guy like get about 100, 150 before you start like really judging what he is and whatnot. And I think what we're seeing with Nick York so far is, well, what he is really is a gap hitter. And as long as they're going to let him be a natural gap hitter, I think he performs a lot better. And what I mean by that is don't try to teach this guy to be a home run hitter. Let him just be the hitter he is. In fact, I think that's part of the reason why he has taken so long in the minors, because everyone was trying to draw all this power out of him, and it just isn't there. He's got good pop, but he's going to hit it 394 to the gap. He's not going to hit it 420. You know what I mean? It's better to let this guy just hit line drives than it is to try to teach him how to do that. And that works really well with what Matt Haig's teaching as well. So far this year, though, I mean, a 261 average, obviously that's not the greatest. 752 OPS, but he is drawing his walks, 11 walks. He struck out 28 times. That's pretty high for him. Uncharacteristic of him, actually. Only 3 home runs, 4 doubles. He's probably a guy that they should be looking at pretty soon to come back up here. I'm not furious that he's not up here because I'm not 100% convinced about him yet. I mean, you'd like to see him kind of dominating the minors like he did last year when he really started to emerge in Boston. And, he ended up hitting over 300 for the entire year based on his minor league journey. In fact, he really didn't get good in Boston until they promoted him from AA, and they promoted him from AA to AAA to make room on the AA roster, not because he had earned it. And AAA is where he took off. So he was kind of a risk to begin with, but I do think there's something there. Let's talk about another one that you're probably not really going to want to hear about because this is an MLB veteran. But I'm not 100% sure how the Pirates, just the way they're playing right now, can ignore it. Nick Solak has an option, which means he can opt out of his contract with the Pirates and seek another opportunity. And what he's done so far in the minors, like he's hitting 361. He has an OPS of 1,000. I mean, like, the guy is crushing baseballs. 5 home runs, 30 hits in 83 at bats. I mean, like, listen, I don't think that this guy is going to set the world on fire. He's 5'10", 185 pounds. He's 30 years old. This isn't like the future or anything. But it's a guy that you brought in as an NRI. He's performing better than anybody you have on your farm team. Your offense at the major league level needs a spark. To me, bring up Nick Solak. He can play just about anywhere on the diamond. And I think he would add something. If nothing else, he's a guy that you really don't get sweaty about having sit on the bench and do some things for you. You don't care necessarily if he's not getting 15 at-bats a week necessarily, but bring him up and see if he's a little bit of a spark plug. Lord knows they need it. Spencer Horwitz, he's just started his journey here in Altoona. 16 at-bats, 2 hits, 125 average. Doesn't mean anything right now. He's playing good defense. He does look really solid at first base. It's kind of nice to see a natural first baseman playing first base. Been a long time. I'm excited for him to come back. I'm not concerned about these numbers at all. And no, I still don't know what to expect from him at the major league level, but this is literally the beginning of his spring training. I don't know how long it's going to take him to get back up here, but I don't think you should be number watching. I don't think there's a number that he hits that everyone's like, okay, he's ready. I think you're just going to kind of see that he's healthy, he feels good, and they're going to bring him up here and finish things up. I think he's probably going to look like an unfinished product when he gets up here, which bringing him into this environment, the way this team is being ingested right now, might not be fair to him. But I think you're probably going to see him up here before he looks ready to you if you're one of those couch talent evaluators like so many of us are. And then just somebody else I want to touch on real quick, Termarr Johnson. I think he's really turning a corner this year. He's hitting 258, so it's nothing super exciting there. 3 home runs, 93 at bats. He's getting on base though at a 349 clip, 725 OPS. This is the Termarr Johnson I was kind of hoping we would see. I need that average to be up over that 260, 270 mark for me to really feel like Termarr is catching on. That's really the player he was. This is a guy they had focus on home runs for the first couple of years of his professional career. And now they've allowed him to just go back to being himself a little bit. And I think we're seeing that reflected in the average and everything. The thing is, he actually has hit some home runs and they could use the power. So let's hope that doesn't burn them. But what you hope is that you focused on one and you're focusing on the other. And then at some point in his career, they smash together and create this one good player. Termarr Johnson is a project still. I don't think for this year, but next year I do believe that he'll be in the mix, especially since nobody's done a damn thing to grab hold of second base firmly. And through no fault of Nick Gonzalez's, he got hurt. But it doesn't matter at some point. Nobody's grabbed that tight and held on. I appreciate y'all joining me. Your dedication is astounding to me, and I look forward to it every day, believe it or not. Watching these games is fun for me. I find a way to make it fun, even if the Pirates don't put something fun on the field. Thank you for making Locked On Pirates your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis at a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts.